Hello everyone, I'm back with another review. Today I'll be comparing the SmallRig MagicFIZ to the Tilta Nucleus M. Right, so both of these are wireless follow focus systems. The Nucleus M is actually quite common. You'll see this pretty often on certain mid-budget and lower budget sets. The Nucleus is considered a bit more of an affordable product compared to systems such as the Airy High 5, the Prestons, or the Teradek RTs. So I'm doing this comparison today because the SmallRig system here is even cheaper than the Nucleus, although it does perhaps make a few sacrifices. And I'd like to share from my experience whether I think those sacrifices are worth it. I've been a first AC on sets for around 10 different shoots now, and I'd say my time is kind of evenly split, half of that using the Nucleus M with somebody else's kit that was borrowed to the production, and half of it I've been using my own kit, which is the SmallRig MagicFIZ. Let's take a look at what comes included inside the box for each of these kits. So this is the SmallRig. It comes in a pretty nice soft case. You open it. Comes with the hand unit, with the focus wheel obviously. It comes with this handle grip, and this is a 2-motor kit, so it comes with 2 motors. It comes with 2 MPF battery plates to attach to those motors, and it comes with some camera rigging parts. So we've got a 15mm rod, a NATO rail, along with a 15mm rod holder. This is for attaching a monitor on top of the hand unit. You have a rosette for the handle, and this part is another option for attaching the handle to a NATO rail. So here's the kit that comes with the Nucleus. It has a hard shell plastic case. It's quite a bit bigger and bulkier than the SmallRig's case, but it also is sturdier. So opening it up. By the way, I'd like to thank my friend Wes and Andy for lending me this kit to review. Alright, so you have the hand unit. The hand unit, again, can control 3 axes. That's up to 3 motors. In this kit, it comes with 2 motors, so this is a 2-motor kit. It also comes with 2 handle grips. So that's 1 more handle grip than the SmallRig provides. It does come with 3 extra marking discs, some focus gears. Comes with a lanyard and various camera rigging parts in here. Okay, so we're going to start with the torque motor performance test, starting with D-tap power. Notice how the display says 6.6 volts, but it's actually 16.6 volts because it just simply doesn't have the extra digit to display 16. And I have this attached to a Rokinon 24mm cine lens. Let's see how it goes. So with slow movements, it goes quite well. And now let's try some very fast racks. So I can tell there is a bit of lag. It doesn't quite hit the end of the focus range when I hit it on the wheel, but realistically you're going to find very few shots that actually require such a very fast focus pull. And now I switch to a different power source. I'm again using the USB-C ports on the motor, but on the other end I plugged into the 5V USB on the gold mount battery. So as you can see right now, it says it's being supplied 5 volts. So let's test the speed of it. Again, slow rack. It seems fine for slower focus racks. But here's the problem when you use a USB 5V. If I do a fast rack, you can see there is a very significant delay. So I've hit the end of the focus wheel already like this, and it still takes almost a full second for the motor to respond. It is simply too slow, and USB 5V, it does not provide enough power. So there is one way to make it work and work reliably using USB, and that's by using quick charge. So right now I have the motor connected with a short cable to a USB power bank that supports quick charge. And again, the short cable helps too, because the shorter the cable, the lesser the voltage drop along the way. And you'll notice the focus motor, it says 9 volts on there. So it is capable of accepting 9 volts of quick charge. And if I do the focus puller test, the torque is much better. And the motor is much more responsive when I do very quick focus pulls. So 9V quick charge is a good way to make USB power work. However, I still don't recommend it because it's hard to tell from a glance what devices support outputting quick charge and what devices don't. So another great way of powering these motors is by using an NPF battery along with the supplied battery plate. That's secure, turn it on. And now this focus motor, it works completely independently. It's not dependent on any other power source. So this kind of setup is very useful for when you're doing a very compact build, when it needs to go on a gimbal, a Steadicam, any sort of build where you cannot have a very large V-mount or gold mount battery hanging off the back, or you simply don't have a D-tap splitter where you don't have access to other power sources. So I can simply, get rid of that big battery in the back, and now suddenly your entire camera build is much, much lighter. And let's test the torque and the motor performance when it's being powered by NPFs. So again, doing a focus rack. So it's quite responsive when I'm racking at normal, slower speeds. And at a fast speed, you can see there is a bit of delay. It's much better, it's much more reliable than USB 5-volt power. And I would say using NPF power is sufficient for most cases. I've been kind of 50-50 split between using D-tap power or NPF battery power, and both have been working pretty great and pretty reliable in my experience. Really, USB 5-volt, it should be your last resort option. It simply is not quick enough, it does not deliver enough power to provide the necessary torque for the motor. So here's the focus motor torque test with the Nucleus M. So you can see it has absolutely no problems with slow focus racks. If I do something really quickly, it's also very responsive. There is perhaps a very slight delay when I'm racking very quickly. So another big difference I can tell immediately is that the focus knob on the hand unit here, it feels much stiffer. There's much more resistance in the focus knob compared to the SmallRig. So for a Nucleus, you have two power options, either through a D-tap battery or through one of the handle grips. It's less versatile than the SmallRig. It does not have an onboard power option where you could stick a battery in there. You have to connect it to an external power source via a cable. Another advantage of the Nucleus is you can daisy chain power. So you have one power input, and once you daisy chain this to another motor, you can power two motors, both of these, with only one power input. I don't have this one properly connected, but you can see that both motors are powered with a single power source. You don't have this option with the SmallRig. You cannot daisy chain, so you have to find either another D-tap cable or just power it with an NPF battery if you want a second motor on your SmallRig system. Another additional feature of the Nucleus that I really appreciate that the SmallRig doesn't have is vibration marks. So as a focus puller, obviously you will be making marks very often. And to set these marks on the Nucleus, you can pull to a certain point, double click the mark button. There's my A, double click again, so there's my B. When I go to these positions again, I will feel a little vibration. So right now there's a vibration at A, a little vibration at B to tell me that I'm there. However, what's really annoying about the SmallRig is that it doesn't have these vibration mark features. So what I tend to do is just use a marker and make traditional marks on the disc. I go through them like so. What's more perplexing is that the SmallRig actually does have a vibration motor built into this unit, but there is no feature, there is no function to use that vibration motor to give you marks. Currently, it's only used for when the lens is blocked. So let me see if I can actually intentionally mess up the motor. Okay, so it's blocked. It's giving me a vibration, it's letting me know something is wrong, and the lens can't turn the motor for some reason. It's giving me that little icon. And when that happens, there is a vibration. So that proves that there is a vibration motor inside this unit, but you just can't use it for marks at the moment. So hopefully SmallRig could fix that with a firmware update or something. Another important difference between these hand units is that this Nucleus hand unit can actually allow you to control up to 3 axes of lens movement. So you have your focus on the focus wheel, obviously. You have a zoom rocker over here. You have another wheel for iris. So that allows you to control up to 3 motors. Whereas the SmallRig unit, you can only control up to 2 motors with this hand unit. So again, focus on the focus wheel. You have another finger wheel on the handle grip here. Usually I find that not to be an issue because most situations I find myself to be in, I only need to control one axis, the focus. Sometimes you have focus and zoom, focus and iris, but very rarely do I ever find myself in a situation where I need 3 motors to control 3 axes on the lens. Now let's look at the motors themselves. You can see that the SmallRig motor is a bit physically smaller than the Nucleus motor, and this is also a tiny bit lighter too. Another difference in versatility that I wanted to point out is that on the SmallRig can only go on a 15mm rod. That's usually no issue. 15mm rods are the most common that you'll see, but occasionally you will also run into 18mm rods, and the Nucleus can accommodate that too. So right now it fits on a 15mm rod, but once I take out these brackets, now you can see the space for a rod is larger, and this will fit on an 18mm rod. Another advantage of the Nucleus is its mounting points on the rod. Whereas the rod mounting point is fixed on a SmallRig, it can only be at that one place. It's more flexible on the Nucleus, so when I loosen this, I can adjust the height. I can even put it down here. So on some camera rigs where there is extra height between the rod and the lens, the Nucleus can also accommodate that. On one particular shoot that I was on, they required stronger 18mm rods to support very large, very heavy zoom lenses, and the Nucleus's versatility came in handy. In that case, if I had to use a SmallRig on that particular shoot, I would have had to find a workaround because this does not mount on the main 18mm rods under the lens. It had to go from the top or from the side and attach an additional 15mm rod to the camera cage, something like that. Luckily, SmallRig does provide these additional accessories in the box. So on a SmallRig, these two ports, one is for power and one is for a run stop. Now on the subject of run stop cables, this is another difference where the Nucleus does have an advantage and has a bit more versatility. So the Nucleus with run stop, you have access to a much wider range of cameras. So like Arri Alexa Mini, Red cameras, Blackmagic cameras, far more cinema cameras that you'll see on higher end production. So with the run stop function, perhaps you do sacrifice a bit with the SmallRig. According to at least the official list of supported cameras by SmallRig, they list Panasonic, Fujifilm, some Sony cameras. Most of those are mirrorless. Alright, so to conclude, here are most of the disadvantages of the SmallRig. Sometimes it has less torque depending on how you power it, but if you use the D-tap, it should be about on par with the Nucleus. There are more limited run stop options on the SmallRig, and hopefully SmallRig, the company, they can come out with officially supported cables to run stop Arris and Reds and Sony Venices and the such. The SmallRig is missing vibration marks, and again, the vibration motor is in there, it's in the hardware, and I really hope SmallRig can just release a firmware update that allows vibration marks. The Nucleus has the added flexibility of mounting on 18mm rods, whereas the SmallRig does not. And also the Nucleus hand unit can control up to 3 motors, whereas the hand unit of the SmallRig can only control up to 2 motors. The SmallRig has the added flexibility of many different ways to power the focus motor, so that includes the NPF battery, which I think is a really good method, especially for gimbals, for Steadicams, for lighter builds where you cannot have D-tap power or a really large D-tap battery hanging off the back of your camera. There are also some added benefits and advantages of the SmallRig. So overall, this system is smaller. It's in the name, it's SmallRig. It's perhaps more tailored towards mirrorless and smaller camera builds, whereas the Nucleus is more tailored towards larger cinema camera builds. So given these differences, do I think it's worth it to spend double the money to get the advantages of the Nucleus? For myself, no. I think I've already made my purchasing decision. I bought the SmallRig, and when I do need the extra functionality, I can rent a Nucleus or I can even rent an Arri Hi-5. In the future, when I do get more filming opportunities and when the disadvantages of the SmallRig become more apparent and it really starts to impede my work, then I may consider upgrading to a different system. Hey folks, so this is Editor Daniel speaking from many months later. So as of 2025 April, it seems like SmallRig has discontinued the MagicFIZ, at least according to their official website. It's no longer available. And depending on the retailer you look at, whether that's eBay, Taobao, or AliExpress, it's either out of stock or very low on stock. So it seems like they're just selling off their very last few products that they still have. So what that means is you may not be able to buy this product new anymore. But although if you're okay with buying used, I have seen quite a few good deals on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. Although you have to be buyer beware if you're going to buy into a discontinued product. That means no more official support, no more repairs, so if something breaks, you'll have to be on your own. I'm quite disappointed with this news because I thought it was quite a good product to compete with the Nucleus M and the Nucleus Nano. And discontinuing it means there's going to be no further development on firmware updates, no further new functionality, and there certainly won't be any new official run-stop cables to support more cameras.